Hi, I'm Carol from the Illustrated Vagabond, and welcome back to our color theory series. Last time we made a grid that showed us every color combination in our palette. Today we're going to dive into saturation, how intense or muted a color is. If you've ever been doing a painting and you find that your colors look a little bit cartoonish or dull, that's where saturation comes in. There are a few different ways to adjust it. When we're using our colors in our palette, we're using pretty pure color. There are three basic ways to dilute the saturation of a color. We're going to work with cerulean blue today. In its pure form, it is bright and bold. When we want to ease off on that a little bit, there are three ways we can do it. The first is just to add water. The temptation is to add white, but in watercolor, white makes everything very cloudy. So we're going to add some water, and that's going to lighten up the value of our color, but it doesn't really change the intensity. It's just as pure a blue. The other instinctive thing I see students wanting to do is shade it with black. Now, I don't even have black in my palette, but I have this little cube here. So let's see what happens when we add black. All that's really doing is dulling the color, and what black tends to do is make things flat. So nothing kills a painting faster than using actual black. What I prefer to do is use the colors opposite. So if we think of our basic color wheel, blue, yellow, red. What is the combination of the two colors that aren't blue? They're orange. So I'm going to use this cad red, which leans pretty heavily towards orange, as my desaturation agent for my cerulean blue. Let's see what happens when I add some in. Fantastic. It's no longer punch on the nose blue, but it's still got some gorgeous life to it. So how do you actually apply this to your painting? We're going to do a very cool exercise that shows you exactly how this works. We'll take the three primary colors, yellow, red, and blue, and our three secondary colors, purple, green, and orange, and we are going to see how to desaturate them by adding their opposite. First, you are going to draw 6 circles. They don't need to be perfect, they just need to exist. Here, we'll use that same cerulean blue, gorgeous rich color. I'm just painting it nice wet paint on dry paper. Dry so we can maintain a little control here. Get that nice and rich. Let's first lift off a little color on the top here. We'll give a little highlight. I'm doing that by adding water. And then I'm going to take the opposite color to blue, orange, and I'm going to add that in to give it a little dark shadow on its underside. So I'm adding it straight into the blue paint and letting them actively mix themselves right there in the water. Next up, we will do our red. So here I'm using alizarin crimson. Get that nice and rich in there. Again, I'll add a little highlight just by diluting that paint with water, not changing the saturation, just changing the value. And then I'm going to add green, this viridian green, super strong color, right into the bottom there. I'll need to mix that in with some of my red paint to get it to blend. And there we've got a big boomy shadow happening, but still full of life, not black. Next up, we've got our yellow. I'm going to use Cad Yellow. Nice and rich. We will add our highlight with a tap of water. It's helpful to dry the brush off and soak up a little of that paint too to get your highlight. Now, opposite of yellow is purple, so I'm using my alizarin crimson mixed with my ultramarine blue. Get a little purple going. I'm mixing it in with the yellow paint. It's starting to climb all through my sphere, so I'll add a little yellow back in there while it's wet. I've got an open window to push those colors around and play. I've got those two colors mixed now, so let's do the purple. Again, that's alizarin crimson and ultramarine blue. I'll lift off my highlight. Dry that brush off so that it soaks up some of that paint. And now I am shadowing with yellow. I know that is a mind bend, but we mix it in with the purple a little, and sure enough, it desaturates. Next up is our green. We're using that lovely Viridian. Has a tendency to overtake other colors when you mix it because it's pretty strong, but we'll lighten it up here. Take a little alizarin crimson, and lo and behold, there's a nice rich shadow that totally works with our Viridian. Next up is orange, which on the color wheel is a mix of yellow and red, so its opposite is blue. We'll take a little of that ultramarine in this case, just because it's a little cooler, and in it goes with our orange. Big boomy shadow. Love it. Give that a little mix. And there we have it. Our 3 primary and 3 secondary colors, all desaturated using the color directly across on the color wheel. In our first video, we explored every mix in our palette with the color grid. Today, you saw how saturation can add depth and mood. Next up, we'll look at value, the lightness and darkness of a color and how it can make or break your painting. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this with a fellow painter, and I'll see you next time.